Hey guys, and welcome to Kel's Gone Bush, the podcast where I'm bringing you the craziest stories, characters and places from down under. Today's story is going to be pretty much a mix of all three. So if you are living in Australia at the moment, you would be quite aware that Victoria and particularly Melbourne are under some pretty heavy restrictions thanks to COVID-19. At the moment, most places in Melbourne, you can't leave your house except for exercise or essentials, and you can't go within 5Ks of your house. All the pubs are shut, like fucking hell. So, it's crisis time. And I just came up with a great idea, and I got the idea from a bloke called Leonard, who started his own country when he got the shits with the government. And I'm not saying do it right now because you'll probably get arrested, and I'm not quite sure how that will help the pandemic, but here's a bit of an idea for when things calm down and we can all cross borders again. Go to the desert, make your own country, start your own government, give yourself a cape and some jewellery. This is what this guy did, and apparently it worked for 50 years. So I am going to tell you the story of the Hutt River province, or the Principality of Hutt River. It all started when a wheat farmer in Western Australia called Leonard Casley got the shits with the Western Australian government over production quotas and decided, fuck it, I'm going to start my own country. So, he invoked rights established by Magna Carta and claimed he was acting under the international legal principle to form a self-preservation government. He then announced that his land was henceforth an independent province and renamed himself Prince Leonard of Hutt, and dressed in robes and chains of office. He then gave royal titles to his family members. His wife Shirley, now Princess Shirley, and his son Graham was now Prince Graham of Hutt. He established a capital city called Nain. I'm pretty sure that's how it's pronounced. I've never been there, so forgive me if that was wrong. And it had a Ministry of Foreign Affairs, a diplomatic security force, a non-combative defence force, a Ministry of State, a historical society, and a Royal College of Heraldry that once honoured a bloke called Keith Kerwin for writing the Principality's national anthem, which I will find and play for you guys at the end of the episode. He went on to create his own postage stamps and his own currency, and even a set of commemorative coins. Now, I don't know if this guy is just revolutionary or really narcissistic, but he went the whole hog. He didn't just go, I'm not listening to the government anymore. He literally went and made himself the king of his own, or prince of his own country, and made his own currency. And you could even get your passport stamped at this place. That's how much he was like, no, I am my own country. However, it was not recognised by the Australian government whatsoever. It didn't stop him from making tourists obtain a visa before entering the Principality of Hutt River. Although the Australian government didn't recognise the province as its own country, in 2016, on the 46th anniversary of its founding, Queen Elizabeth II sent her congratulations to the micronation, which Prince Leonard took as pretty much gospel that, yes, he was recognised as a country. This also meant he decided he wasn't going to pay tax, and that started pretty much a war between him and the Australian government. In fact, in December 1977, after a lot of demands for money from the Australian Taxation Office, he did declare war on Australia and severed all supposed diplomatic relations between the two countries. Although Australia was probably like, okay, wheat farmer with your 20 or 30 citizens, we're really going to get the army out for this one. 2 days later, Prince Leonard announced that the hostilities had ceased and Australia was obliged to recognise his sovereignty because apparently his nation was undefeated in war. A war that never happened. But anyway, in his head, it happened. So I have a couple of telegraphs from this time, which I will read to you guys. The first telegram is from 5:10 p.m. on Friday the 2nd of December 1977, when Prince Leonard decided to declare war on Australia. It read, "To His Excellency Sir John Kerr, Governor-General, Government House, Canberra. Confirming my letter of 28th of November re your government's lack of respect of the laws, not only my people, not only on my people, but also on people of your own country, and Mr. Keating's further disrespect to the courts. Previous acknowledgement of duress having been applicable, it is my official responsibility to declare that a state of war now exists between our respective countries, and diplomatic relations are at this time now severed. Prince Leonard, Sovereign, Hutt River Province. Anyway, 2 days later, at 3:30 p.m, Sunday the 4th of December 1977, His Excellency Sir John Kerr, Governor-General, Government House, Canberra. It is my official duty to advise you that the state of war between our countries has now ceased, and my government will accept diplomatic relations with your government in order to endeavour to achieve desired mutual cooperation as is befitting sovereign countries. International relations which follows the now present situation from the laws of war, wherein after even a situation of 1 day of declared war, it follows upon cessation, absolute sovereignty to the respective countries. Please have your governments obey now the laws of war, or jointly call for the United Nations to supervise all relationships between our respective countries. Prince Leonard, Sovereign, Hutt River Province. And that, my friends, is how easy it is to declare yourself a country. Just declare war on Australia for a day or two. They won't give a fuck. There's other things going on. They'll be like, whatever, declare war. Then, after 2 days, send them a letter saying the war has ceased because we won, because you guys didn't defeat us. I am now my own country. In fact, I think I'm my own this house is now my own country. I'm going to do this. I'm going to see what happens. But because I rent, I'm not quite sure. I don't think you can rent a country, so I'll have to wait till I buy my own property. But seriously, this guy is just... And the thing was, there was two views. You either loved him or you hated him. You either thought he was the biggest dickhead, or you thought, good on ya for standing up to the big people, you know? Like, and Australia loves an underdog. So, of course, there's going to be people that just love this shit. And he did get a lot of tourists. And I looked up TripAdvisor to see what the reviews were like. And a lot of the times in, you know, quirky places like this with crazy people, there's very mixed reviews and half of them are bad. But I could only find like 2 bad reviews on this guy. Like, it was apparently a good place to visit. Unfortunately, though, things started going downhill in 2017 when the Western Australian Supreme Court finally decided that the micronation was in debt to the ATO to the tune of almost $3 million. Prince Leonard and his other son, Prince Wayne, who also owed the ATO money, around $250,000, argued that the court didn't have jurisdiction over their state. This was thrown out by the court and the appeal case was also dismissed. It was in this same year that Prince Leonard, who was then aged 91 and with his health declining, decided to abdicate and make Prince Graham the new leader prince. I don't know why there's no king. Why don't they king someone? Anyway, they did invite the Prime Minister at the time to the ceremony, the abdication ceremony, and the Premier of Western Australia, both of who declined. Anyway, it was left to Prince Graham to clean up this tax bill mess, and unfortunately, that hasn't happened. This month, Hutt River Province was put on sale. So, good news for the people of Victoria. If you want to get the fuck out of there, you can buy yourself a country. And if you declare war on Australia for a day or two, you should be able to then tell Australia, no, we won, I'm a country. Don't know how that's going to work out for you in court, but hey, you know, it happened. You can go online and look up the more details to this story. There's obviously a lot of things that happened in the 50 years that they were running their government. And the website, they do have a website. I think it was built in 1991 and never updated. So I didn't really go through it because I just can't with those flashy things. And the funny, like, yeah, the emojis that move and, I don't know, like, you know those chat rooms from, like, 1995? So, yeah, that they do have a website. You can go check that out. Unfortunately, you can't go and visit the place because well, for a start, it's closed down and for sale. But before they closed down, probably the biggest reason they had to close down was COVID-19. All the borders are shut, including Hutt River. And they say that they had to shut it, due to COVID-19, and it was all their decision, apparently. But no, the WA is not letting anybody into Western Australia. From what I can gather, for the next fucking 50 years, they really don't want anyone else in there because they didn't have any cases and they got rid of. They did a really good job of not spreading COVID and all of that. And they're like, fuck you, the rest of Australia, with all your germs. And I feel personally offended. I love WA, but yeah, probably won't be going there for a while. But point being, they had to close their borders by default because their country happens to be in a state of Australia where the government tells you what to do. So yeah, which is pretty confusing, which is why I'm like, I'll just give you some links and you can go check all that shit out for yourself. I've never been great at government talk and and all the acts and everything. I'm actually studying a fucking course where I have to do all these, and I'm like, I don't know what part of the act do I have to do. It's so long, it's got 47 pages. Yeah, so maybe check those links out and the legalities of the situation before you go declaring your own country. That said, I did say that it was up for sale, and you can find that online. I think it's through Elders in Northampton. Yeah, Elders Real Estate, formerly known as Hutt River Province, Northampton, for sale. And it is probably one of the funnier real estate ads. It basically reads, in 1970, the Principality claimed to be an independent sovereign nation by self-proclaimed Prince Leonard Casley, although was never recognised as such by the federal government. Earlier this year, the Principality was closed down due to COVID-19 and last month was dissolved and the property was listed for sale. Leonard's son Graham, also dubbed a prince, has spent most of his life living and working on the property, which now covers 6,105 hectares. He said his family developed the property and also farmed at Maliwa and near Kalbarri. Oh yeah, sorry guys, if you live up there, and I've just totally fucked the pronunciation, but I'm not good at that stuff. Although, to be fair, Australian names, like Australian town names, they can be pretty hard on everybody. I'm not even going to start on that. That needs its own podcast. Anyway, back to the ad. They cropped up to 20,000 hectares, once ran a flock of 12,000 merino sheep and had about 200 head of cattle, as well as having a contract harvesting business. Graham says he has experienced the good and the bad times in farming. I love farming, it's a good life, but you've got to be careful not to stress too much. And just start your own kingdom. Mr. Casley said he had enjoyed living and working on the property mostly because of its connection to his family. He said it would be lovely to keep it in the family, who is one of 7 children. Well, there you go, only 2 were mentioned in articles. He said he had a different sort of upbringing, growing up on the Principality as a teenager and a self-proclaimed prince. I can imagine that would have gone down well in the local high school. But he said he had lots of visitors and made lots of friends. Maybe he was homeschooled, I don't know. He said it was great to meet people from different nationalities, and the tourism that it brought did the local area quite a lot of good over the years. The Hutt River Province was a popular tourist destination as visitors could learn about the history of the Principality, meet the royal family, have their passport stamped, and it even had its own currency, which was fucking useless everywhere else. But hey, if you ever go back to Hutt River, that shit is gold, literally. The Principality was often visited by delegates of other nations, and 9 overseas film and documentary crews went through the province. Fuck, I didn't even look at the documentaries. I might have to look at that. Anyway, Leonard was even invited to stay at the Vatican for a 3-night stay with his Hutt River passport, a very rare invitation to receive. But Mr. Casley said Hutt River had been on an economic decline for various years, regardless of its battle with the Australian Tax Office and the COVID-19 pandemic. I think the whole thing was the tax office thing, mate. I'm not sure, but I think when you owe someone about $3 million, that's a bit of a fucking problem. In 2017, the family lost a court case against the ATO. Mind you, this is a fucking real estate ad. It just tells you everything you need to know. and was ordered to pay $3 million in income tax, penalties and interest. And can you imagine if that was in your fucking real estate? Here lies the 3-bedroom brick house in a quiet suburban street. Old mate, the owner, owes the ATO $5,000 in unpaid taxes. Like, you just, what the fuck? Anyway, it goes on to say, the ATO had a small influence in Hutt River's decline, but tourism had been subdued for a while before that, and then COVID-19 happened and it all stopped. If we were to get serious about farming, it would cost too much to bring the property up to standard or to invest in machinery. Yeah, okay. Probably wouldn't have said the property up to standard bit in a fucking real estate ad, but anywho. Elders real estate sales specialist Chris Teakle is handling the sale and said the property would appeal to farmers, investors, and also has tourism appeal with the accommodation and administrative buildings. No, it doesn't, because Western Australia is not going to let you in forever. So unless you live in Western Australia, you're not going to be allowed to go there for a while. And I'm pretty sure everyone that lives in Western Australia would have been there at some point, or, you know, if they wanted to go, they would have been there by now. And now they can go, so cool. Yeah, I'm not really selling this joint, am I? Fuck. All right. Keeps going. An astute investor will have the choice to enhance the farmland and infrastructure to improve on what's there now or lease out the settlement area for any number of commercial ventures. Not sure how big the town is though. The location of the property has the Coral Coast only a short drive away and boasts stunning flora and fauna plus the prize marron that are in Hutt River itself, which runs through the property. And you know, it sounds pretty nice. If you've got a lot of money, that'd be a good place to go. It's warm, it's near the coast, it's got its own river, and I must say, the native wildflower, I don't know if the wildflowers are in that part of WA, fuck, I'm stupid. But yeah, Western Australia itself is just stunning. So yeah, if you've got a couple of mil and feel like running your own country, there you go. Just look that up, Elders Real Estate in Northampton, WA. And that, my friends, concludes this episode of Kel's Gone Bush. As I said earlier, I will link all of the info to the episode notes below, and I will try and find one of those docos, although I'm pretty sure if you go on YouTube and Google it yourself, search it yourself, it should come up. If you want to give me some feedback or just story suggestions or just a chat in general, you can find me at Kel's Gone Bush on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. As I've said a million times, Twitter's not my strong point, so Facebook and Instagram is preferable. I'd definitely love to hear back from you guys, and I'd definitely love to hear anything that you think I should be putting on this podcast. Has to be Australian, that's the only thing I ask. But I think next week I may or may not be covering one of Australia's most iconic female rock stars. I just need enough time to get you all the shit I need to put in that episode, because she's one of my favorite rock stars ever, and I want to do her justice. I also want to give a tribute to a mate of mine who he has a Facebook page, Kevin the Kelpie, and sadly my mate passed away last year, but he was awesome. He was just a fucking legend. He encouraged me with everything I've ever done creatively since I met him. He actually bought my book, and we didn't know each other. He lived in WA. WA is big for skimpies. My book's called Skimpy. And he bought my book. Apparently he loved it. He hit me up on Facebook, and he was one of my best friends ever since. And he was actually trying to get Skimpy put out on the big screen or as a TV show. He actually pitched it to some, there was a competition for Foxtel, Netflix, all of that. They all these producers got together and asked people to pitch their stories, and he pitched Skimpy and got invited to Margaret River for a bit of a boot camp thing. He had to go there for 2 days, and yeah, he did a big pitch. He got a big poster printed out of my ebook cover, which is me standing on a crocodile's head, and did this sales pitch to them. Nothing happened. Nothing came of it, but then again, we also heard that nothing came of any of their stories, because there was one person there that was doing something on periods, women's periods. Like, that was literally the whole concept, like women's periods. I don't know who the fuck wants to watch a TV show on that, but I said to Pete, if period boy gets picked, or I think it was a bloke doing it, which was really weird. If he gets picked, I'm not going to be happy. But no one kind of got anything out of that. So I don't know whether that was just a bit of a ploy to get story ideas or whether we just were all shit. But anyway, he went to great lengths to try and help me get my creative shit out there, and I always told him he should have been an agent, and yeah, he was just an absolute legend, and he deserves a tribute. And yeah, Kevin the Kelpie, he's the cutest dog. So if you are on Facebook, he has a Facebook page, Kevin the Kelpie, still active because Pete had an amazing girlfriend and she has carried on the legacy of Kevin the Kelpie. And it also has a limited number of calendars available through that Facebook page for next year. Hopefully there's some events to put in that. This COVID shit fucks off and we can all just get on with our lives. But, oh God, when's that going to happen? Anyway, on that note, talking of our lives going back to normal, this podcast episode is dedicated to anyone that is sitting in their house in Melbourne, hating life at the moment. My heart goes out to you. As I said in my Facebook Live yesterday, and I've been saying to my partner, it's all very well and good for the rest of Australia to say, just suck it up, you'll be right, just stay inside, what's wrong with you? They aren't the ones locked in their house apart from an hour's of a day exercise and essentials at their local Woolies, which we all hope is within 5 k's away, otherwise you're screwed. They're all sitting at the local pub having a fucking fat time on Facebook going, shut up, you whingers, just put up with it, it's for everybody. And it's like, we get that, but really, mate, you're not the one going through it, so maybe you should just shush for 5 minutes, because it's hard enough without being told to suck it up by someone that's got all their privileges. Yes, we have to stand 1.5 metres apart in New South Wales. Yes, there's limited seating. Yes, this, that and the other, but we're not locked down. So unless you're actually in Melbourne locked down, don't tell people to suck it up. If you're not going through something, don't tell people to suck it up. It's just ridiculous. Just sip your beer and shut the fuck up. Anyway, so as I said, Melbourne, I feel for you, and I really, really hope that this is over soon for you guys, so life gets back to normal and you can go to the pub for a beer or a restaurant or just 10 k's from your house. So yeah, Melbourne, we're with you. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I will be back next week, but until then, Kel has gone bush.